Okay. Welcome back, everybody. After all the Yomim Tovim, it's a long winter. Have to get some chizuk for the winter. We just had Parshas. We had all the Parshas started with Bereshis, Noach, going to Lech Lecha.
What do you say, bracha on this? Sorry for barley. It has barley.
So it's Mezainis.
Hear that? Zonos.
He's got mushroom and barley soup. He wants to know what bracha it is. Mezainis. Okay, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world. Every Friday night by Yechulu, we have Ma'aseh Bereshis. Why did he create the world? Why was there a Ma'aseh Bereshis? So Pashup Pshat is because what's the finale? What's the finale of the 7 days? Is Adam, Brias Adam. Kadosh Baruch Hu created this whole magnificent world because of Adam. Okay. So let's take the next question. So why did he create Adam? That is one of the deepest questions. I'm not going to attempt to really answer it. You have to study a lot of Ramchal's, Moshe Chaim Litzato, to understand it. But why did he create it? Why? But it's something that we have to understand. Why are we here? What is our purpose? We were put into this universe, into this world for everything's got a purpose. It's not like the Goyim, they say like nothing has a purpose. It just happened. It didn't just happen. You see such a complicated human being, such an organism. It was created. So if there's a creator, if you have a phone. A phone was designed to do something, right? Designed to be a phone, and then they added a calculator, and then they added a recorder, and then they added a video, and then there's phone in videos. So, but it's got all these gadgets on it, and each one has a purpose. If you have a car, they created a car. It's not just to sit in. You got to sit in there, and it's got all the luxuries in there, and you're going to take out a newspaper. The car is made to go. Agavorcha, they make it comfortable, so you can do things in the car, and you're comfortable while you do them. But the purpose of the car is to move, to travel. So Kodesh Baruch Hu created us in this wonderful world. And we are designed to do many, many, many things. What's our purpose? That's a question that is too vast for me to really hit all the angles. But it's a very important question. I remember I was I just married, and I was fresh and new in yeshiva. And a friend of the family, he stopped by from the old country, and his name was Harry. So we're sitting there, Harry, and so I was very, into yeshiva and into Musar at that time. So I asked, Harry, tell me, Harry, why were you created? Huh?
Why ask?
He says, well, he was more polite than you are. He was very polite. He says, well, I never thought about it. So we started thinking about it. He was a conservative Jew. He wasn't a religious. Started talking about it and the purpose and the purpose of the world, and the purpose of the Jews. But it's something that we have to talk about. And the fact of the matter is that the Rishonim do talk about it. There's a very famous Ramban. There's two Rambans. You know the Ramban, Nachmanides. So the Ramban, a very famous Ramban at the end of Parshas Bo. It's one of the most important Rambans in Chumash. He talks about the Yetzias Mitzrayim and all the mitzvahs, and how we have Zeichel Yetzias Mitzrayim. We have to mention Yetzias Mitzrayim. Yetzias Mitzrayim is mentioned 50 times in the Torah. We have to mention it twice a day. Why is it so important? So the Ramban says, this is a very important Ramban at the end of Parshas Bo. He says the kavanah is kol ha-mitzvos. Kavanah is kol ha-mitzvos. Shenamin belokeinu. We have to believe in the Ribono Shel Olam. We have to believe in Hashem. Shenamin belokeinu v'noida elav shehu barano. We have to recognize and acknowledge He created us, and therefore we have to be. We have to act accordingly. And then he says, "V'hi kavanas hayitzira." That's why He created us. He created us that we should recognize Him and acknowledge, v'noida, acknowledge that He created us. Ein lanu tam acher b'yitzira rishona. That's the bottom line. So Emunah in a Kodesh Baruch Hu, acknowledging that He's the Creator, is the bottom line of our existence. Ve'ein kel elyon chafetz b'tachtonim milvad. Why does He need all these billions of people? How many? There are 8 billion people in the world. What? And they're not doing their job. The people in the world are not doing their job. What does a Kodesh Baruch Hu create such a marvelous world with so many people, billions of people? And what's the purpose? Ein lekel elyon chofes b'tachtonim. He has no desire in us lowly creatures. Milvad sheyeda ha'adam v'yoda le'elokov shebaro. That His creations should recognize that a Kodesh Baruch Hu, Hashem, the Ribono Shel Olam, created them. That's the whole purpose.
Doesn't make sense.
Why?
Was Hashem need us to?
You're right. He does. Okay, that's the Ramchal. The Ramchal. You have to go through the Ramchal. This is the Mesilas Yesharim and Das Tvunos, and it's not. This is not for him. He doesn't need it. The Mesilas Yesharim says, if there were 100 million ants, you got 100 million ants, and they're all looking at you, and they're bowing down. We recognized you. Does that mean anything? Do you get anything out of that? No.
Step in there a second later.
Right.
What's the difference with the people? Same thing.
This is the same thing. So that's the Mesilas Yesharim. It's exactly the same thing. Kodesh Baruch has no need for us. It's for He wants to do good for us and.
But that's a different answer already.
No. It's all basically the same thing. It's all basically the same thing. It's all basically the same thing. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants.
These nicknames, right? Rachum Bechanun. So
He
He needs
made
us
it
to
for
be
us.
called
He's given us
nicknames.
the
It's
opportunity because He wants.
Because He is Kadosh Baruch Hu. This is the bottom. I didn't want to get involved in this, but Kadosh Baruch Hu wants. Kadosh Baruch Hu He's called God, which comes from the word good. They took out a zero, an O out of there, right? So, but the Kadosh Baruch Hu is the Makor. He is full of. You see that He's the Rachum. He's the Chanun. All the good. We look up to Him as good. He does so much good. You know, when bad things happen, we have to try to figure out what the good in it is, because the Kadosh Baruch Hu is good. He's only good, and in order to be good, He had to have some creature that He does good to, and the Mesilas Yesharim, the Litzato, so he says, in order to do good. If He gives you, He wants to give you schar v'onish, reward and punishment. But if the reward and punishment, first of all, can't be forced. It has to be something that you have free will. Therefore, He created us with free will, that we could either believe or not believe. And then, but it had to be. It can't be just He gives us good, because When somebody gives you good, if you're on a handout from you got a great uncle, you got an uncle, Uncle Sam, we'll call him, and Uncle Sam is giving you a handout, but he's not this, cloud in the sky that you don't know who he is. He comes to visit you all the time. Every time he comes to visit, you're embarrassed because you didn't make anything. You don't deserve anything. Everything is just given to you. It's embarrassing that that you have a relationship with this guy and you're on the receiving end, and there's nothing for you to be on the giving end. It's terrible. So Kadosh Baruch Hu wanted us to be able to earn our reward. He wanted to give us good. He wants to give us olam haba, but he wanted to do it in the best possible way. The best possible way is that we earn olam haba, and therefore that's why he gave us free will, and we have the Yetzer Tov and Yetzer Hara, and we have it's we can, we can't, we do, we don't. So in order to earn olam haba and earn the goodness that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants, so therefore the best goodness that HaKadosh Baruch Hu can bestow on a person is if the person becomes connected to himself. If we are connected to Hashem, and Hashem is the source of all goodness, that is the biggest reward that we can get. We're not just out here and we're getting a reward, we're getting brownie points in left field out somewhere in Asbury Park. If you're connected to a Kodesh Baruch Hu, the closer you are connected to a Kodesh Baruch Hu, the more you are now connected to the source of good. So that's the best olam haba you can get. So the first thing is, the basic bottom line, the Ramban says, is first we have to recognize that there's a Kodesh Baruch Hu. He wants, and that starts the whole mechanism going. If there's a Kodesh Baruch Hu, then what are my jobs? What's my obligations? And then we have all the things that we have to do. But the bottom line is Hakora of a Kodesh Baruch Hu. Recognize a Kodesh Baruch Hu. And then he says in Parshas Hazinu. So we go from all the way from Bo, which is the climax, the culmination of Yetzias Mitzrayim, all the way to Parshas Hazinu. And he says a very important point that we have to recognize. We're in Golus. Klal Yisrael is not doing its job. We were thrown out of Eretz Yisrael. We're not able to do all the mitzvahs. We're not able to have a nation and a melucha the way we're a community, and do the things the way we're supposed to be doing. Thomas Chusavos, we don't have Chusavos to get us ourselves. So what's going to get us out of Golus? That's the big question today. What's going to bring Mashiach? What's going to get us out of Golus?
Trump.
Okay, for the people on YouTube, this is said on Tuesday morning. We don't have the results of the election yet, so therefore that statement was made.
We all went for Kamala here, all of us.
Twice. Even the dead people.
Right. So in our Golus right now, Thomas Chusavos, we don't have the Chusavos. We don't have any Hatzolah from the Goyim. We're not doing what we're supposed to be. How many people are religious? How many people are tzaddikim? And yet, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Kibatzi eschem mina aratzos. HaKadosh Baruch Hu promised He's going to be makabetz us. Why? The reason for all this. The reason for this. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to do nisim. He's going to do miracles. He's going to bring about the return of Klal Yisrael to Eretz Yisrael properly. And it's not because He wants to show off. He's going to do miracles. The purpose of the miracle is not to show off among the Goyim. All the Goyim are like you said, the ayin, they're like nothing. They're like ants. He can step on them, as he did during the Mabul, right? He doesn't really care necessarily for all the Goyim. It's efes v'tohu nechshavim lo. Hashem bora es ha'odnim v'tachtoinim, and He repeats Himself what He said in Bo. Shiyaker es boiroi v'yoyde lishmoi. That's the purpose. And there's only one nation that does that. V'lo nisha rak ha'am hazeh lishmoi. There's only one nation that does that, that's us. You look at the Goyim, they don't do that. And they look at us as God's representatives. All the Goyim, deep down, they know that we are God's representatives in humanity. And that's why they hate us, because we are the conscience of humanity. And people hate their conscience because it gives them bad feelings, so they try to, make it go away. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu has only us, the whole kavanah of the Bria. Now, if HaKadosh Baruch Hu allows us to go lost among the nations, if we go lost, the kavanah of the Bria is botla, lagamre. Why did it was a waste of time creating man if we go lost. Because there's no one else who's going to take our place. Take a look at all the Goyim. Nobody's doing the job that the Klal Yisrael is doing, of recognizing and living with for the purpose of a Kodesh Baruch Hu. We follow the mitzvahs. We acknowledge there's a Kodesh Baruch Hu. We have Emunah. We daven. Only Klal Yisrael does that. The Goyim don't do that. As much as they can get out of doing any obligations, they try to, as much as they can have a good time without having a guilty conscience, they'll do it. Lo yishabahem. So there's no purpose in the Creator in creating man. Al kain roy midin haratzon in the bria ha'olam, for the purpose of what HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world for. Therefore, He's got to keep us around and bring the geula and have the culmination that the Yemoseh Mashiach is going to happen, and all the goyim are going to recognize, hey, there's a Boirei in the world. So we have to recognize the greatness, our greatness, Klal Yisrael's greatness, Klal Yisrael's purpose in this whole Bria. The purpose in the whole Bria is to recognize that there's Ribono Shel Olam. Now recognize that this Ribono Shel Olam is twofold. This is Emunah. This is Emunah. There are two levels of Emunah. The Goyim are concentrating. There's a group in Seattle. All the atheists and all the pro-evolutionists and the scientists. They've written off God. We don't need God. The world is mechanical, and it's existed for 15 billion years. And at the time of the Big Bang, well, there are a lot of Big Bangs, So they don't believe in anything.
I heard
We're not going to get into this.
someone said to someone that believes in the Big Bang.
Yeah.
Told him you believe in God. He said, you're a bigger believer than me.
Yeah. So there's a group in Seattle called Discovery Institute, and they have top quality scientists with PhDs, geniuses, and they have proven through science that the world was designed. So that's the first Emunah. There was a designer, right? Intelligent design. You could be thrown out of university for even sneezing that word, but they can't deny it anymore, and they're in a state of denial, and evolution is going down the drains, and Darwin is going down the drains, and everything is intelligent design. They have scientific proofs for it. You can look it up, the Discovery Institute in Seattle, and they have marvelous information there. And but they had a predecessor. They don't realize they had a predecessor. His name was Avigdor Miller. Avigdor Miller, 70 years ago, said all these arguments you see from nature, intelligent design. So we beat them to it, except they did it, But all that's proving is there's a God who's an intelligent designer. Now what? What about Hashgacha Pratis? So the second level is Hashgacha Pratis. And that's where the Jews come in. We believe that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that's what you see as Misraim proved, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is still involved in the Bria, and specifically with Klal Yisrael, and even more specifically with the Tzaddikim. The more Emunah you have, the more B'tachon you have, the more HaKadosh Baruch Hu is involved in your life to take care of all your needs, to protect you, to do what you need. So the bottom line is Emunah. And the way to recognize the Kadosh Baruch Hu, to fulfill the Ramban's said that the purpose of the purpose is not just to recognize that there's God exists and He was intelligent behind it. We have to recognize that He is involved in the world. So the world, we know that the world was created, and for 10 generations they went down until it was terrible. Yetzer Leva Adam Rak Kol Hayom. And the Kadosh Baruch Hu decided He's going to destroy the world. Noach Motza Chen B'nei Hashem. Who is Noach? So the pasuk says, Noach ish tzaddik hoya tomim hoya b'deirosav. He was an ish tzaddik. An ish means he was a person. He was a tzaddik. So Kadosh Baruch Hu, we know the story, and He told him to build the teva, and He said He gave him the Chumash tells us Kadosh Baruch Hu gave him 120 years. It took him 120 years. It says in 120 years, I'm going to give them 120 years to do tshuva.
Frankinson rule.
Huh?
Frankinson rule. A job takes the time they give it to build.
Yeah. Well. So they asked the question. They asked a question. HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Noach he was a tzaddik. He was not ruined by the influenced by the people around him. And He told them to build a teva, an ark. They called it an ark, a boat, whatever you call it. It was really more of a submarine because it had to be hermetically sealed. They have all these pictures of the ark with the giraffe, on the top deck. There was no top deck. Everything because of the water. It was totally and absolutely hermetically sealed. Now it wasn't under the water; it was floating, but you know what was going on then? You know what was going on, and that was it. With the waves, Look at the world. All the canyons and all it says all the mayonos tahaim. All the water came up from there was lava and everything was boiling, and it says the water was boiling. And it said it erased, 3 tefachim. It's 3 tefachim is like
1 feet.
Is a couple of 3 tefachim is a foot. 1 foot is it's a third of a meter. So it just washed it away. It changed the mountain ranges. It changed everything, and everything got washed away. Everything got melted in the water. It got boiled. The water was churning, and it was a cataclysmic flood. It wasn't just water, nice gentle water. It was churning terribly. So He had to create this big. It was a miracle. It was a miracle. The whole building of the teva was a miracle. That this thing was going to last for a year. And what did the Kadosh Baruch Hu tell him to do? He told him to gather all the animals. Gather all the animals. He said, how am I going to gather all the animals? And then the Kadosh Baruch Hu says, don't worry, I'll take care of it. And he had 2 of all the Tamei Dika animals and all the Tahor Dika animals. He had 7. You know how many species there are in the world? You know how many species there are in the world?
15,000.
And even if it's not the species, because maybe you could say all you need is 2 dogs to create all the dogs and wolves. A wolf is just an offshoot of a dog. So maybe all you need is 2 dogs, and then all the genes are there, and then they would eventually develop.
We have today, necessarily for sure, was during the.
It could be. That's what they want to Taina. That all you, but no. So where's my list here? So there's the species. You're right. Of the mammals, there are 6,400 species of mammals, but there are families, right? So of the families, there are like the genera, a genus. There's the genus is 1,300 genus of types of it would be like one type of dog and this type of cat and type of horse. And if you go back, maybe it's from the families. You go back farther up. So there are 167 families of mammals. Maybe this is what the internet sites want to say about the flood. It was all you needed was 2 horses, and they would create all the zebras and all the horses and all the ponies and all. The question of whether a donkey goes into that, because a donkey can't mate. A donkey mates with a horse.
Isn't a lion a type of cat?
A lion is, so that's what they want to tie us. Maybe all you need is a cat.
But there's a lion. No, there's definitely a lion.
The question of whether a lion is a evolution of, we believe in what we call microevolution. Can if you have a dog with, like a human being. A human being's got, you have dominant characteristics and recessive characteristics, right? It all depends upon the genes. If you have in the genes, so once the genes change their makeup, their code, so you can have a white man give birth to a black man. Could be. We intermarry. I mean, they all came from Noach. Chum came from Noach, and he was the precursor of all the black men. So it's in the genes. So yes, there is possible that you have a cat, and the cat slowly developed into, some of them became tigers, and some of them became lions, and some of them became.
There was a lion. No,
where?
Lion
Medrash.
Huh?
Medrash.
Oh, the Medrash says that there was a lion at the time. So the Medrash.
It went the other way.
Oh, maybe it went the other way, or don't know. Maybe the lion became the cats. I don't know. Or maybe it was not the families. It was the genus.
It's only a way. There's no.
There's no way. There's no proof for it.
It's only
There's no
a way of trying to connect.
It's all conjecture. I agree. It's all conjecture. But whatever it is, there were several. They needed several thousand animals in the and these animals. You had to have an elephant, 2 elephants, and you had to have 2 hippopotamus and 2 rhinoceros. I mean, that already is how many tractor trailers is that already? I mean, they're giant, right? And you got and a ox, right? 7 ox, 7 big ox, and whether a bison is different in American, American buffalo is different than our cows. I don't know, but they had to have thousands and thousands of animals in the teva. So all the Rishonim, Rebbeinu Bechaya,
the Mabel was all over the world.
All over the world. They have evidence for the Mabel all over the world.
Also places there was no human beings then.
We don't. Yeah. Well, first of all, that's the question. How much was inhabited? It says 1/3 of the earth was inhabited by human beings. But the Mabel was everywhere. The Mabel was everywhere. But that's not the point I want to get into. The point I want to get into is that this teva could not hold all the animals. It says it was made into pens, kinam tasalacha. So I mean, the Goyim said, well, it was a big teva, it's all right, half the size of the Queen Mary. That's a big thing. You could fit, thousands of animals into the Queen Mary. They don't take into account it was made 3 levels, 3 floors. Top floor was humans and supplies. Second floor down was all the animals, right? You had the elephants and hippopotamuses and the rhinoceroses and the giraffes. You had all these animals on the second floor, and the bottom floor was the waste, the manure. I mean, they make a lot of manure, right? They make a lot of manure. So the manure was on the bottom floor. So there's only one floor of this teva was available for all the animals. It can't hold it. One floor of this, It was 300 amas long and 50 amas wide. It's not enough. It's not enough. Rabbeinu Bechai asked the question. The Ramban asked the question. The Kli Yakar asked the question. They all asked the same question. It wasn't big enough. So the Rabbeinu Bechaya says,
Sorry, he said a joke. That why didn't he extend another floor? The table said when you have animals on the second floor and garbage on the first floor, you can't extend.
this was a miracle. This, and it was just. I heard an explanation of it, and just the tave itself. How can you store? There wasn't a place to store enough food, a year's worth of food. The Queen Mary stores food for what, 3 weeks? 3 weeks worth of food for the 6,000 passengers, but to have enough food for all the animals for a whole year. And what about water, fresh water? They couldn't go out. They couldn't drink the water. The water was full of sulfur. It was all the sulfur from the lava. There was lava that came from all the volcanoes erupted, and the water was churning, and it was dirty water with sulfurized water, and so there was no water, drinkable water outside, and all the water was inside. So where's the place to store the water? And secondly, you got all that manure in the bottom floor, right? Have you ever been in I once went in summer to a Zimmer, right? I went to a Zimmer, we rented for a couple of days at Zimmer up north. And the next kibbutz over, the next moshav over, was a chicken farm. And they had 10,000 chickens. And when the wind was going in the wrong direction, which was most of the time, it was impossible to stand outside. You just couldn't do it. You were hoping there was a change in the wind. It's impossible. A chicken coop. So imagine what it smelled like inside the teva with all those animals. And then what about the manure? They have all that manure, sitting in the bottom floor, right? And the place was a gas chamber, literally. The teva was a gas chamber. In passing, I happened to see a medrash that said that Noach was so happy to get out, he opened the window finally. He couldn't handle the reyach, he couldn't handle the smell, right? Finally he was able to get out and get some fresh air. It was terrible. It was a miracle that they didn't suffocate, after a year in cooped up in that gas chamber. So why did Kodesh Baruch Hu do it? First of all, it wasn't big enough, and it was a miracle. So Rabbeinu Bechai has a very, very important principle. A person is commanded by the Torah to do everything in his ability according to the way of nature. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted Noach to build this teva, and it should look like it's large enough. It should look like it's large enough. Where is it? Where is it? Of course, when you want it, you can't find it. It's right here. Oh, there it is. Okay. This is Tevis Noach, and this is the Titanic. The Titanic, I'll pass it around in a second. I just want to show it to our audience on YouTube, right? And the Titanic is twice as long as the Tevis Noach, and this is a modern ocean liner, the Ovation of the Seas. It's like 3 times as long as the Tevis Noach. This is Tevis Noach. Pass this around. Okay, so the reason for all this, and they asked the question, so maybe HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what he should have not put the marble around the whole world. He should have left one mountain, make a little colony on top of the mountain, and have Noach with all the animals on that colony on top of the mountain, and let them survive that way. Why do you have to create a teva? Noach was commanded, Kadosh Baruch Hu said, I'm giving people 120 years. I'm giving mankind 120 years. Kadosh Baruch Hu gave him the specifications to build a ship that would take, he was one man. His sons weren't built, his sons were not born yet until he started, he was already in the midst of building the Teva. He was one man, nobody wanted to help him, he was against the whole world. A one-man show building a giant boat, and Kadosh Baruch Hu arranged it that it would take one man 120 years to build that boat. He didn't want it any bigger because he only gave him 120 years. So therefore it had to be that size. He didn't want any smaller because he wanted Noach to be working the whole time. The whole 20 years, 120 years, he wanted Noach working. Why did he want Noach working for 120 years? There's the big tzaddik, the big Rosh Hashiva. What is he doing? All of a sudden became a carpenter. Hey Noach, Rabbi Noach, what are you doing? I'm building a boat, I'm building a teva. Why are you building a teva? There's no water around here. We're in the middle of a desert, the middle of Mesopotamia. There's no, over there's the ocean, a couple of thousand miles away. Why are you building such a big boat? There's going to be a flood. Why is there going to be a flood? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not happy with you. You're all Rishoyim. You have to do tshuva. I'm going to buy that malarkey. And this is, for 120 years, Noach had to put up with all the people laughing at him. Look, it's crazy Noach. He thinks it's going to start raining and there's going to be a flood. Look at him. He's building and it started taking form and then ran and finished. Now it's the end of 120 years. That's why Kadosh Baruch Hu wanted this size. And economy. We do what is possible according to ability, according to laws of nature. This size, 120 years, you could build this size. Then you rely on the Kadosh Baruch Hu. How are all the animals going to fit in there? Kadosh Baruch Hu will take care of it. How are you going to survive on the food? Kadosh Baruch Hu is going to take care of it. How are you going to survive on the little bit of water that you're able to take in there? Kadosh Baruch Hu is going to take care of it. You do everything in your power according to laws of nature. You have a business. You work to the best of your ability. Use your seichel to the best of your ability. Work hard in your business to the best of your ability. Sof davar, that's all you can do. The rest is rely on a Kodesh Baruch Hu. That's the rule that Rabbeinu Bechaya says, and that's a basic rule of B'tochen. I've said it before.
That's a Chovos HaLevavos.
This is Rabbeinu Bechaya, not the Chovos.
It's a different Rabbeinu Bechaya.
Two Rabbeinu Bechayas, yeah. Rabbeinu Bechaya.
The minimum. No?
He's talking in general. He says you do the minimum v'shtadlis, and but this is Rabbeinu Bechaya al Torah is someone else. He's the time of the Ramban. When was the Rabbeinu Bechaya of? They're both Rishonim, but they're like 200 years apart. I think 200 years apart. I forget the exact history of it. Anyway, so that was Noach. So Noach was building. So here's Noach, and he's building the ark, right? And now, Noach is the epitome of mankind. Now, he's the only one that's going to be saved. And we had from the Ramban that the purpose of mankind is to believe in the Kodesh Baruch Hu, is Emunah. And we see also B'tochen. Emunah includes with it B'tochen, Hashgacha Pratis, belief in the Kodesh Baruch Hu. He's been building the ark for 120 years. He's had to put up with all the sarcasm. If you're giving Musar for 120 years, don't you think you believe it? You're telling the people there's going to be a flood. You believe it. You're building an ark for 120 years. You believe it's going to rain. Kadosh Baruch Hu said, now it came 120 years. But so what did he do? He didn't want to cause any suffering to Mishlu Shalach. That's Noach's grandfather. Noach's grandfather was a great tzaddik, Mishlu Shalach, the oldest man who ever lived. He didn't want to cause him to suffer through the flood, so he passed away. He was supposed to live 1,000 years, but he couldn't, so he passed away at however old he was, 960, 970. So he passed away. So they had, so Kosh Baruch Hu told Noach in 7 days after Shiva, I'm going to bring the flood. So Noach had 7 days. And Kosh Baruch Hu says, start gathering the animals. He had 7 days to start gathering the animals. The parade of animals started, and he sees a miracle. All the animals come, two giraffes. No, giraffes were kosher, 7. Right, 7 giraffes, all the kosher animals were 7. 7 giraffes. Wow. Is there room for them?
14, right?
14, 7 and 7, 14 giraffes. Right? 14 cows, 2 rhinoceroses, 2 elephants, 2 hippopotamuses. I mean, and they're all, and 2 tigers, 2 lions, and 2 bears, and all the animals are parading, mamish, the right amount into the teva.
He has to start feeding them even during that week.
I guess he had to start feeding them. Yeah, I mean, he had to bring the food in. He had to prepare everything. So he was busy that whole week getting everything prepared for the animals and putting them in the right, in their right pens. Right? Each one had his pen, his stall, and you got to figure out how to, where to put them. And he was very, very busy, right? And it started raining. It started raining. So what would you say? Oh, it's raining. Mm-hmm. If you were told there's going to be a flood and it started raining, what would you say? I got to get out of here. It's going to rain, right? If you're warned that if you have a warning that there's a missile coming from Iran and it's headed directly at your house, you go to the bomb shelter right away, pronto. You don't wait. You have Emunah Shlema that you're in danger. And it says in the pasuk, at the end of 7 days, Noach, finally, right? Noach, after 7 days, V'yovel Noach u'banav v'yishtu v'neshei banav, he and his whole family, his sons and his his wife and his daughters-in-law, took into the teva mipnei mehamabel, not because they were commanded. His feet were up. He was up to his ankles in water. I got to get out of here because look, I'm up to my ankles in water. Huh? He was. As soon as you see it start raining, the first drip you should run to the teva. It's going to rain. Says Rashi. Mipnei me'amabel. He brings a Bereshis Rabbah. Af Noach mikatani amonohon hoya. He was a man of small faith. He was maimin ve'enu maimin. This is a cloud that we have, unfortunately. Maimin ve'enu maimin. He didn't really believe. He didn't go into the teva until he was forced to. The water pushed him in. Not the tzivui of Hashem, not the belief that there's going to be a mabel, because the water pushed him in. He had no choice. He had to go into the teva.
But in that time there was to rain.
Huh?
There used to rain.
I have a question on that. It's Masha from in Parshas Bereshis that there was rain, because there wasn't a person to daven for rain. That's all the tzemach was waiting underneath the surface of the earth, waiting for man to come and daven that there should be rain. It's there was rain.
Because if it didn't rain,
but this was a different type of rain. This was a different type of rain. This was it started flooding. This started flooding. It rained, and it rained, and it rained, and it got stronger, and it got stronger. It wasn't a gentle rain. It started as a gentle rain, and then after 2 days it was harder, and after 3 days it was even harder, and it started pouring, right? And wherever he was, he was up to his ankles in water already. And then he had to get in there. He was a maimin ve'enu maimin. Chazal say this, he was a maimin ve'enu maimin. And this is the principle by all of us. We're a maimin ve'enu maimin.
He didn't want to get it. He didn't want to accept it, or he didn't believe.
Believe.
He doesn't want to accept
what's
happening. Or
I mean, he spoke.
He was hoping. He was hoping it would.
20 years, which means he definitely believed.
Hashem told him that was going to happen. Right?
A maimin ve'enu maimin. You understand it the way you understand it. Think about it. I'll hand it over to you to understand. But it's a chazal. This Bereshis Rabbah. This Bereshis Rabbah.
I believe something's bad is going to happen, but I don't accept it. So until someone doesn't push me in, right? I'm just not going to. I'm not going to jump in. Yeah, but if Hashem told you it's going to happen, so it must happen. So what are you waiting for?
What are you waiting for?
What are you waiting for? Hashem says it's going to happen, so just go.
So Noach was a Katani Emunah. And because of this, his Emunah was not 100%. He was great. It was Noach Yitzhak. He was saved. The Kodesh Baruch Hu saved him. So he was a great person. He was our great granddaddy. So, but he wasn't perfect. He wasn't perfect. It wasn't. Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. So where's the perfect man? So where's the perfect man?
He didn't believe in Hashem, or he didn't believe that.
We're not talking about believing in Hashem. Everybody believed in Hashem.
He didn't believe Hashem was going to do this.
He didn't believe in this. Yeah. He didn't have emunah in this nevuah. He had a nevuah that there was going to be a mabul, and there was a little part of him. I can't say how big a part of him was it. 1%, 0.5%. Something inside told him it's not going to happen. Not going to happen. He's called Katani Emunah. He's called Katani Emunah. Now let's skip, because I'm running out of time, let's skip Parshas. This week we're going to be reading Lech Lecha. Avraham Avinu. Avraham Avinu. His job, his whole etzem, his mahus, he was totally involved in spreading the word of Hashem. He came to Emunah in a Kodesh Baruch Hu, and he was spreading the word of Hashem. He risked his life for spreading the word of Hashem. He went to the Kivshana Eish. He wasn't going to believe in idols. He broke all the idols in his father's house. Nimrod threw him into the Kivshana Eish, and he had a miracle because he refused to bow down to the idols. He went to Eretz Canaan. He spoke. Kodesh Baruch Hu spoke to him and sent him down to Eretz Canaan. And he started amassing people. He was a kiruv Rebbe. He was a kiruv Rebbe, and he was teaching about HaKadosh Baruch Hu to everybody. He says, "Who's going to take over my job?" Now, what was the problem? Ani hoylech hariri. So Chazal tell us, he and Sarah were not able to have children. Physically, they didn't have. There was something physically deficient in their makeup. They couldn't. It says Sarah was an akara ein lo vlad. She didn't have the womanly organs to have a child. I mean, imagine. They went to the top doctors, right? You go to the top doctors, have all these organizations for having children, and they're both examined by the top doctors, the professors in all the universities, right? And they say, Mr. and Mrs. Abraham, I am a rabbi and Mrs. Abraham. I am sorry to inform you. You just have to accept your fate. That's the way it is. Along comes the Kodesh Baruch Hu in the Bris Bein Asorim. After the war with the 5 malachim and the 4 malachim, and he did miracles. He did miracles. Just a band of 318 people, and they conquered. They routed a giant army of hundreds of thousands of soldiers. How it happened? It was a miracle. Everybody went crazy. This miracle that happened, because Baruch Hu came to him. He says, Al tira Avram. Avram, don't be afraid. Ani magen lecha. Avram says, but what are you going to do? I have no progenitors. I have no one to take over my job. He was now, at this time, he was 75 years old. He's getting on in age. Who's going to take over my career? Right? Matitinli, ani choylech hariri. Well, I'm going to give it over to domestic Eliezer, this Eved Kanani. He had an Eved Kanani. He's a wonderful person, but he's not. He's not. He doesn't have any inheritors. Yeah. Who's going to take over my job? Who's going to take over the spreading the word of Hashem? It says, no. Lo yiroshcha ki im asher yetz mimeyecha hu yiroshecha. You're going to have a child. Your descendants are going to take over your child and spread the word of Hashem, spread Emunah and the Kodesh Baruch Hu. And he says he took him above hachutza habetno hashemayim. Look down on the Shemayim. What does it mean? Look down on the Shemayim. He brought him above all the mazolas, above the Shemayim, above the mazolas. Says the Maral. Says the Maral. A change of teva, to believe that there's going to have a change of teva. Kodesh Baruch says you are going to have children. We've seen miracles in nature, haven't we? To have a miracle in nature, it's possible. Nature is it's more fluid. There's more of a flux in nature than there is in anything else, and it's possible for the doctors made a mistake, or maybe things will happen, and the body will grow the right, will reestablish itself. So it's possible to have a change in nature for him to have children, but above nature, above teva, there's the word of mazel. The world of mazel. Mazel comes from the word nozel. It's the fabric of spiritual makeup, which is controlling all the physical world. The spiritual world is controlling all the physical world. That is impossible to change. That's closer to Maisa Bereshis. That's closer to Kodesh Baruch Hu. It's set. Once the Kodesh Baruch Hu said, "Misha Olma La'olam die," it's set. You cannot change it. And Avraham Avinu was a master of understanding mazolis, understanding all the spiritual world, which controls the lower world. Kadosh Baruch Hu brought him up above all the constellations. He brought him up above all the mazolos, and he says, "Look down. You are now in control of these mazolos. They are not dictating your future. You're going to have a child. Avraham will not have a child, but Avraham will have a child." And then it says in the pasuk, a very important pasuk, "Vayamin v'hemin b'Hashem." He believed this, even though it was impossible. V'yachshavel lo tzedakah. What's this v'yachshavel lo tzedakah? This was such a monumental leap of faith to believe it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu took it, accepted his chashva la'Avram. It was a schus and it's tzedakah on his emunah that he believed. What was the difference? What was the difference between Avraham? Now Avraham, the Chassam Sofer, I'm running out of time. Avraham, the Chassam Sofer, and the Maral say because of this leap of faith of Avram Avinu, he merited becoming the progenitor, the forefather of Klal Yisrael. This is the purpose of creation is Klal Yisrael, like I said at the beginning of the shir. The people who are going to have Emunah. We are the people of Emunah. Where did this come from? It came from Avraham Avinu. Whereas Noach had Emunah 99%. You can't give percentage, to how much Emunah. It calls Noach a Ketane Emunah. There was something lacking in his Emunah. V'yachshavel lo tzedakah. Avraham Avinu had 100% Emunah. It was solid. It was called rock solid. The Maral says he was like a tzur, like a rock. Like you can't move a rock. A rock is 100% solid. So is his emunah. And from that Schus, he inherited into us the ability to have emunah. And that's the difference between Noach and Abraham. Whereas Noach was only Ketani Amana, he wasn't Zeicha to be the forefather of Klai of whatever Klai Yisrael was going to be. He was, and even Shem, in next week's Parsha Lech Lecha, you have to study Shem, how Shem blew it by giving more cover to Avram Avinu than to Kodesh Baruch Hu. Avram Avinu had 100% rock solid. The Rabbi Rucham from the Mir, he says it was like his emunah was like it's sitting in your wallet, in your pocket. His emunah was sitting in your money. It's safe, right? Because it's in your pocket. It's right here in your pocket. That's where. It's munach b'kufsa. That's munach b'kufsa. He's not worried about it. It was 100% guaranteed. That was his emunah. That was his emunah. What's so what do we have to do? So what do we have to do? We have to solidify our emunah. I have a sefer here from Reb Zadel. We've only got 1 minute left. We have to concentrate on building up our emunah. We have to concentrate on 100 brachas a day. What's a bracha? Is recognizing Kodesh Baruch Hu. You wake up in the morning and you say Pakeach Ivrim. Why can you see? Because Kodesh Baruch Hu gave you sight. Thank you. Why can you stand? Look at all the people that can't stand up. I'm looking around the people around me, right? And the Zoikev Kfufim. Look at all the old men. They're walking around with the backs bent over. Zoikev Kfufim. Baruch Hashem, you can get up, you can stand up straight. You don't have to walk with a walker like this. You can walk, you don't have to go in a wheelchair. Thank Hashem for everything. You go to the bathroom. Thank you, Hashem, I'm able to go to the bathroom. You know how people aren't able to go to the bathroom? So concentrate on 100 brachas. And every day, 100 brachas, because, why 100 brachas? Because when we say 100 brachas, we strengthen our emunah. And our job is to repeat it over and over and over again. And this creates a strengthening of our emunah. And that's the purpose of Klai Yisrael. And Be'ez Hashem, if we strengthen our emunah, Kodesh Baruch Hu will believe in us, and he'll bring the Gula Shlema B'Korov.